We like motorcycles not just because they are fast, shiny, and give us a personality. We also like motorcycles because they are loud. They demand a level of attention that we never got from our fathers. When you're on your bike with your helmet and tinted visor on, you can pretend to be somebody different. Like the person who pulls in the clutch and hits the rev limiter while passing under a bridge, or drops down 2 gears when riding past outdoors diners at a local gastropub. A motorcycle allows you to be the obnoxious yet self-assured Chad you have always wanted to be, not just by way of being able to reach ungodly speeds in a few short seconds, but by also having a gas-powered noise machine nestled between your nether region. There is something so utterly life-affirming about riding a motorcycle around town with your bike metaphorically screaming, look at me, I'm fast and loud and reckless and you are not, and that makes me cooler and more interesting than you." The exhaust tone and style that a motorcycle engine produces is an integral part of the riding experience, a requisite akin to the throttle response and brake feel. Have you ever ridden an electric motorcycle? Well, it is kind of weird. Unlimited power on tap is not all it's cracked up to be when you cannot hear thousands of controlled explosions happening simultaneously as you're propelled through space. Practically every motorcyclist is quick to remove the stock exhaust system on their bike, often under the guise of sick power gains. Quote, "I gained 15 horsepower when I put my slip on." Sure you did, but likely because it changes the riding experience for the better as you're able to fully appreciate the tone and characteristic of your motorcycle's engine as you move through the rev range. That being said, let's talk about the 7 coolest motorcycle exhaust sounds, of which they're in no particular order. They're all different and unique in their own way. It's hard to quantify best when it comes to an auditory sensation. Number 7 on our list is obviously the Turbo Busa. Open pipe spooling boost, squids and normies alike know to avert their eyes when they hear that beast coming, lest they not be turned to stone as punishment for their unworthy leering. Just kidding, it would be too obvious, wouldn't it? The Busa could have a rightful spot on just about any list we make, so it's almost always too easy, and the minute it becomes this easy, it becomes less rewarding. That's why I do these videos, so I can sleep well at night knowing that I've worked tirelessly to leave a positive impact on the thousands of little internet squids who chose to watch and berate me in the comments. I'm like a real motorcycling Mother Teresa. Speaking of Mother Teresa, the real motorcycle in the number 7 spot on our list is practically as old as Catholicism itself. We're talking about the Harley Davidson Sportster. I know what you're thinking, so save your breath, but that bike sucks, that bike is slow, that bike ruined my parents' marriage. Yeah, well listen here, look at the title of the video, Top 7 Coolest Exhaust Sounds. This isn't a best X bike video where performance, cost, and styling are carefully weighed and calculated in order to evaluate and rank motorcycles. We're talking about cool motorcycle sounds, and despite what the thousands of sport bike riders who watch this channel might think, the Sportster sound is kinda cool. The Evolution V-twin motorcycle has lived in the Sportster since 1986 and has become known for its ubiquitous potato, potato, potato engine sound. And it isn't necessarily a sound that evokes a high-end performance, but instead heritage and nostalgia. And while those sensations at a brand shouldn't necessarily base their entire platform on, Jesus Christ, it is impossible to completely discredit their value. A Sportster with a nice aftermarket exhaust is cool in the way that an old pickup truck or a vintage denim jacket is cool. Are there better options out there? Sure, but some people appreciate timelessness and character as much as they do performance. Phew, okay, Harley simping over, now let's get back to some real fast boy bikes, but take a listen. Next on our list is the Yamaha R1. The R1 sports a 998cc inline-4 engine with a crossplane crankshaft derived from the M1 MotoGP bike. Yamaha first started using this engine for production in the R1 in 2009 and have been titillating street Rossis ever since. The unevenly distributed firing pattern creates a wild exhaust sound that isn't typical for most inline-4 engines. At lower RPMs and during decelerations, it burbles like a V8 before being revved out to territories that many traditional V8s would not dare to venture. Yamaha has been using the crossplane crankshaft design to reduce vibration and torque imbalance in the engine at higher RPMs. But what does that mean to the layperson? Mo power, mo better, which is hard to deny as the Yamaha R1 puts down 198 horsepower and 84 foot-pounds of torque. This bike not only sounds cooler, more unique, and more aggressive, but the unique sound is the result of some very smart engineering to increase performance. It actually does sound a little bit better than Timeless Heritage. Maybe I need to rethink the first entry. Oh well, too late for that, I guess. Onward and upward. Let's take a listen. Guys, when it comes to working on your bike, you know you need the right tools for the job. And you guys know that for years I've been telling you you need the right tool to shave your junk, but there's something else we gotta talk about. Listen. You smell bad. It's not me, it's you. I know it for a fact. You got the goose juice stank on you. It just is what it is. But Manscaped's got you covered. They're making all kinds of great new stuff to keep you smelling fresh and being your best. We're talking shampoo and conditioner, body wash, spray on lotion. That's a thing apparently. Like sunscreen, just spray it on, it's amazing. You don't even have to rub that stuff in, it's great. You've got deodorant, lip balm, everything you need to keep yourself fresh and being the best man you can be. Hit the link down below and you will get automatically 20% off on your Manscaped order and free shipping as well. Thanks to them for supporting this video. Next on the list is the Aprilia RS660. Spoiler alert, you are going to find a few cross-plane engines on this list, and I'm not sorry, they just sound cooler than the standard flat plane engines like the one the John Deere you have in your garage. The RS660 debuted in 2020 with a 659cc cross-plane parallel twin that makes 100 horsepower and 50 foot-pounds of torque. We had an RS660 as a giveaway bike last July that we outfitted with a full aero exhaust system, and let me tell you, that was one spicy little meatball. The uneven firing order from the 270-degree crank gives it a great low burble, and you wouldn't expect that from a similar parallel twin in the class, except for maybe the MT-07. And it just keeps getting better the more you hammer on it. It actually revs out really hard. The exhaust sound has enough character and personality to match the acid yellow paint job without offending your neighbors or causing irreversible damage to your eardrums. The Aprilia RS660 is the motorcycle that the Ninja 650's girlfriend tells it to not worry about. It is more interesting, more complex, and more memorable, and it owes much to that sound of the uneven firing order from the cross-plane parallel twin. Let's listen. Since I already have my Eurosimp hat on, it stands to reason that I must talk about the beloved 3-cylinder engine in the Triumph Daytona. The 675cc engine is known for the famous whistle it makes from idle to mid-range before coming into an intake growl as you reach higher RPM. The whistle has become an elemental component of the Daytona riding experience, almost as if it were intentionally designed as a way to emulate your grandmother boiling a kettle on her stove for afternoon tea. The whistle or whine is actually the result of the straight-cut gears found on Triumph's counterbalance shaft, a component necessary to keep an inline 3-cylinder engine balanced as pistons move up and down inside the cylinders. It may not be an exhaust sound per se, but a noise from the engine itself is pretty damn cool. Is that a turbocharger? A JDM bro might ask as you whistle over to the coffee shop. No, it just does that. It's a Triumph, you will say, as you are unable to articulate the mechanical peculiarities that give this bike such a distinct soundtrack. Hey, that's actually a pretty good segue to our next bike, but first, take a listen to my race bike. The next coolest sounding motorcycle is none other than the supercharged hyper-naked ZH2 from Kawasaki. Super naked, how scandalous. The ZH2 is a monster of a motorcycle that makes 197 horsepower and 101 foot-pounds of torque from the 998cc supercharged inline-4 engine. Now, while inline-4s typically don't produce the most exciting exhaust note due to the conventional and even firing order, with the addition of a factory supercharger, the ZH2 gives you goosebumps as it whistles and flutters all the way to the red line. Wheelie control can try to stop you, but with an aftermarket exhaust installed, the ZH2 might as well be playing Ride of the Valkyries from the tailpipe as you yeet yourself into infinity, chasing that sweet supercharger ASMR. God, I love the ZH2 and I miss it almost every day. And I know you're saying that the supercharger flutter isn't necessarily an exhaust sound, and while that is correct, it is an essential accompaniment to the overall exhaust composition. Without it, it would be an entirely different sounding motorcycle. Take a listen to our old ZH2. Again, oh my god, I miss that bike. We're now at the point in our list where we have to show some little bike love. It's the KTM Duke 390, and it's up next on our list of coolest motorcycle exhaust sounds. Most single-cylinder motorcycles typically sound pretty cylinder, but I thought the Duke felt a little bit more worthy of a place on this list in lieu of a dual-sport motorcycle. Maybe the fast boys watching this will be paying little attention to not notice that the Duke is essentially a dual sport in a naked bike cosplay. Some people say that single-cylinder engine bikes sound agricultural, but to me there's something endearing about the thumpy brap of a single-cylinder bike that puts a smile on your face. It's simplicity. If your bike only has about 40-ish horsepower, you might as well slap an aftermarket can on there and sound like you're about to compete in the X Games Best Trick event. You have to remember, a majority of people out in the world won't know what type of bike you're on anyways and will just say, oh, that bike is loud and orange. That guy's cool. Or they'll think you're a nuisance regardless. Remember, this is a list of the coolest, not the best, and single-cylinder motorcycles are just that. Cool, fun, timeless, and often reminiscent of a simpler time of learning to ride dirt bikes as an adolescent or goofing around with your friends. Take a listen. Last but not least on our list of coolest motorcycle exhaust sounds is the Ducati Panigale V4. The Panigale is an iconic supersport motorcycle that's designed to go around a racetrack as fast as possible over and over again. And while Ducati is typically known for their L-twin sounds, this new V4 is pretty ridiculous. Bearing in mind that Sisyphean racetrack existence, Ducati has masterminded one of the coolest sounding motorcycle engines in history. Similar to the R1, the Panigale V4 was derived from the MotoGP race engine. Its 1103cc Desmodromic 90-degree V4 makes 215 horsepower and 91 foot-pounds of torque. Do you think that's enough horsepower? Interestingly, the direction rotates in a direction opposite to the wheels. This counteracts the bike's gyroscopic forces, making it even easier to lean it over on its side. But how does it sound? Amazing. It sounds amazing. It's as if every interesting feature of all the previous motorcycles were combined to make the most intoxicating exhaust sound ever. It has the thumpy low grumble at idle of a twin and lower RPMs. It just starts to scream as you rev it out. Beautiful. Next to the Godfather theme and the soundtrack from Super Mario, the Panigale V4 exhaust note might be the most Italian song ever made. Although, Aprilia might have a little something to say about that. Let's take a listen. Fact. In the English language, scraunched is the longest one-syllable word. Other examples are screeched, schlepped, scratched, scrounged, scrunched, and stretched. Wow, I can't believe I had to read all that. Goodbye.